Hello and welcome to Walford Weekly, your EastEnders podcast, discussing the episodes aired in the UK from the 23rd to the 27th of November 2020 on the BBC. My name is Rob, I'm one half of the hosting team, and joining me, as is correct and proper, is the myth, the man, the legend. It's Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hello. I've never had an intro like that before.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you. That's good, isn't it? I want a drum roll and everything over that.
I may add. I
think you should.
Ben's never been that kind to me. Never. He's just been like, oh, and here's Alex. He's joined me today. He's turned up.
He's turned up, rolled out of bed.
Yeah. To be fair, that is mildly accurate. However, to have an intro like that is an absolute honour. So thank you very much.
Why do I get the feeling I'll be doing this every week from now on?
Well, you will if you carry on like that. Yeah,
exactly.
Gold star.
You all right?
I'm okay. Yeah, not too bad, thank you. It's been a very EastEnders packed week because not only obviously EastEnders, but we've had classic EastEnders where Michelle has left the square. Anyone who's been watching it, it's been a very sad moment.
She'll be back.
Yeah, with a new face, but
yes.
But a bad storyline.
Yeah, very bad. And much worse driving skills as well.
Oh yeah, 10 years on the original EastEnders.
Series 1.
Yeah, on Series 1 of EastEnders. It really makes me want to rewatch the new Michelle and see how different it really was. Because I mean, Tully was amazing for those 10 years, and if they could ever pull her back, I would be so happy to see that happen.
I mean, it seems unlikely now. I think the last time I heard of Sue Tully, she was directing Line of Duty.
She did. But I said to Ben, perhaps that would be one way to pull her in. Maybe if they offer her you can make any program you want, a 6-episode series deal. You can direct it, budget, whatever you like, blow it out of the water, but you must come and do EastEnders for 3 episodes.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
I don't either. It's a win-win for everyone. Susan Tully gets to do a dream of directing the one thing she's probably always wanted to do. There must be something in her catalogue always wanted to direct. And
Corrie.
Yeah, or River City. She could direct a few episodes of River City. I mean, she could direct a few episodes of EastEnders. It's not unheard of.
Well, I think she did.
She has, she's done it before. Yeah. So yeah, I've been dreaming of Susan Tully all week, really, just wishing that she would come back.
What filth dreams they must have been.
Other than that, I've also been watching I'm a Celebrity, and I think we should quickly talk about that task.
Amazing.
It was just fantastic. The EastEnders task. Jessica Plummer and Shane Ritchie having to drink anuses, penises.
Vaginas.
Obviously mashed up. Zinfanidel, yes.
Best bit of writing I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, this is I'm a Celebrity. Anyone outside the UK may not know is obviously a reality show.
May have just spat their tea out. Yeah. What the hell are they talking about?
We talked about it last week, and they're both on it. And this week they had to do a task. And it was basically drinking blitzed up body parts of animals. Bits. Yeah. If you can find a clip online, watch it.
It's so funny.
It's just so fantastic.
And to be fair, I thought Jess was the highlight of the task as well. Like, Shane was funny, but Jess was hilarious.
You've been watching I'm a Celebrity.
Oh, I love it. I love I'm a Celebrity. Watching it for years. And yes, it was probably one of the best eating/drinking trials they've ever had. It was hilarious. And like I say, Zinfanidel is going down in history as the best name of anything ever.
Is that what you're going to name your first child?
I think so, yes. In fact, I think we should rename the podcast Zinfanidel Weekly.
Oh dear, the listeners we get from that, I'm not sure we'd recover. Anyway, I understand, Rob, that you've got some news.
I have. Cue jingle. This week, it has been revealed that EastEnders did rather well at the Inside Soap Awards. Now, I'm not entirely sure where you'd rank the Inside Soap Awards in terms of prestigiousness.
Just below the Oscars. Just below the Oscars.
It's a knighthood. Yeah. And yes, like I say, they did very well indeed. Best Actress goes to Jessica Plummer for Chantel. Perfectly fair, I think, because she was pretty phenomenal towards the end of the story. She was amazing. Funniest performance, Lorraine Stanley. For Karen.
Yeah, see,
it's been side-splitting watching her recover from her daughter's death, hasn't it?
Yeah, I know. But she's not had really a lot of good things. She had Keanu leave. She got threatened by Phil Mitchell. She's had a lot of bad things happen
How much of a Schadenfreudic element are people getting out of Karen's character?
No. I know, but I'm pleased for her. She's Lorraine Stanley is a lovely woman and lovely actress.
She is, and she's a very funny character when she's given funny material. Best partnership going to Danny Dyer and Kelly Bright. They work well on screen, don't they?
They do. They're the Ant and Dec of the soap world, aren't they? If they're ever in a category for an award, you pretty much guarantee they're going to win it at some point.
Yes. A feel good moment for the Pride episode, which I think is fully fair, to be honest, because I loved the Pride episode. It's a fantastic episode, written by Pete Lawson, and yeah, it's a great episode. And Bernie's last big hurrah, I would argue, as well.
Funny you should mention that. I was just thinking the exact same thing. Where has Bernie gone? What is Bernie doing?
She was top and forefront of that episode, apart from the balance stuff, wasn't she? And she was amazing, and you really, I loved Bernie in that episode, and she's barely been featured since. So bring Bernie back into our lives, please. And of course, the big one. The Inside Soap Award for Best Soap goes to EastEnders.
Yeah.
Can't argue with the facts, people.
Well, we argue about it every week, but no.
We do, and we should continue to. Do it again. But, yeah, no, Best Soap, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, of course we're pleased, and we would 100% back the EastEnders have won Best Soap, because it's our champion. We love EastEnders.
It is the best soap.
Of course it's the best soap. And having spoken to a few people who watch other soaps, I understand that EastEnders seems to have its head further above the water than, say, others
I would say so. You know, you've got to bear in mind that this is Corrie's 60th anniversary this year. I fell out of watching Corrie for a bit because it was just getting on my nerves. And apparently Emmerdale's pretty bad at the minute, and God knows what goes on with Hollyoaks. But I'd say that EastEnders is probably, believe it or not, the best soap on quality at the moment. So
I've tipped my toe in the Coronation Street waters. I've caught something, but I don't want to talk about it. Just because I wanted to know what they're doing for their 60th, because it's an anniversary episode, so it's obviously going to pull people who perhaps haven't watched for a while or are new watchers to the soap. And it's to my understanding that they've basically stolen EastEnders' storyline. Which is that they're going
all the stories to steal.
Well, they're going to redevelop Coronation Street into a hotel complex. This has got familiarities to me. Hello, Kathy, and all kinds of.
I don't know. I would have more faith that they do it better.
I didn't mind the story as a concept. It was just that it was rushed.
No, it was a good idea. It wasn't rushed at all. It was like the slowest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was supposed to go on for another 3 years. Are you joking?
Well, you are right there, but it wasn't rushed up until the very last minute, and then it was rushed because there was that big scene in the pub. And then it was just over and it was done with.
Because that's when John York took over and it was like, right, well, let's get rid of this one. Thank you.
But I liked the idea of it. I liked that it had an aroma of the past where they tried it one or two times as storylines where they tried to knock down Albert Square and redevelop it. And it was nice that they brought back Wilmot Brown and it was family too. And I liked Fee. But yeah, okay.
I thought you were getting out of me in terms of compliments.
But yeah, I feel like Coronation Street and Corona, it's a problem. It's made filming very difficult.
It's a problem. But it's a slight issue.
It's a slight issue. It's a mild inconvenience. But really, is that the best they can do for the 60th? I know they're not doing stunts, but...
Oh, no, I mean, from the sounds of things, a big old Hollywood stunt was planned. But then, again, they did that for the 50th, with the tram crash, so so maybe you do want to go a bit differently. But, I presume they'd normally throw in live episodes and all that kind of thing, and you can't do that with these current restrictions.
No.
There you go. So EastEnders won Best Soap. And then, another bit of news on an entirely different level, which you are so taking, because I can't stand this programme.
Right.
But, Letitia Dean...
Queen
Letitia Dean...
Thank you.
...is rumoured to be, on Her Majesty Letitia Dean, is rumoured to be a guest judge on the next series of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. It is also rumoured that the winner of the show will be joining EastEnders as a drag queen at the Albert.
Everything in that sentence just makes me warm. It makes me feel happy and joyful. Perfect. If you watch the first series of the UK version of RuPaul's Drag Race, there was a running joke that it was basically done on a budget of like 10p.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like the prize, like on the American version, every week there's a prize and they win a holiday or they win $1,000 gift voucher for something. And in the UK they would win a badge which said RuPaul's Drag Race on it. But that's what made the first series of RuPaul's Drag Race UK, for me, one of the best series they have ever made of all Drag Race. And the British humour of it, Bag of Chips, the Vivian, standout performances by them too.
I'm just, I don't watch RuPaul because I'm the worst homosexual that's ever minced the earth. But I just feel that I mean, Letitia Dean, I've seen a couple of episodes of it, and I can totally imagine Queen Letitia Dean as a judge, because Sharon's basically turned into a drag queen of these days anyway. So she fit in perfectly. Now, but the idea of the winner of it joining...
I doubt it'll be like a 6-month story arc where you find out that, and that he's Mick's secret dad or something like that. You know, I doubt that's going to happen.
You know full well now that's exactly what's going to happen.
If it does, I will be shocked and humoured. But I think that's a great prize, and I think it's an honour to be asked.
It's an amazing prize.
Yeah, it's an honour to be asked to do, even if it's just a 5-second role.
Say Sharon's best mate.
My goodness, I'd love to be like Sharon's long lost school friend.
I know.
From another school.
Oh, you turned into a drag queen. Wow, that's good for you. Well done.
I am excited if it's true that Letitia Dean is going to be a judge. She will be fantastic.
I'll watch it then. I will watch it then. That's that then. So, should we get on with talking about this week?
Yeah, why not? It's been a good week. The way we're going to talk about it is we're going to make an Ian Bill sandwich. We've got the bread, which is some other story.
Yeah.
We've got Ian Bill, the big meaty chunky bit in the middle, and then we've got another little story at the end of it. Because let's be honest, this week has been dominated by Ian Bill and who duffs Ian in a Duff Duff storyline.
It has been an absolute nightmare trying to write notes for this week. I just want to say that. Thank you so much, EastEnders, for the stress that I've had to put my notes together this week. But we should start with the first bit of bread in the Ian sandwich, being Mick, Linda, Max, and the return of Katie at the end of the week.
Mick has put his trust back into Katie again, and
yeah,
it's a very strange decision he's made, but I feel like everyone around him, he doesn't feel like can trust anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that Mick sort of... The thing is with Mick at the minute, he's sort of going backwards and forwards, isn't he? Like, so, no, I'm all right. Oh, no, I'm not all right. Everything's bad. Everything's terrible. You know, and I get it. You know, he's going through an extremely strange little mental stage at the moment. But he's not in a great mood this week when he returns from visiting Lee, which I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot that he'd gone to do.
Well, he returned with a black eye.
Yes, he did return with a black eye.
And at first, I genuinely thought... I thought it was quite a realistic-looking black eye, although I've since been told that it looked awful by a lot of people.
You need to punch more people then.
I think I might, or be punched.
Or be punched, yeah.
I genuinely believed at the beginning that it was just going to be a passing comment because Danny Dyer, whilst he had his small break, just fell over in the shower or something and hit himself in the eye.
We're just right around that fight that Danny Dyer got into at the Soap Awards.
yeah. I really did think that it was just going to be a nothing kind of thing. But it ended up being pretty much the whole reason for why Mick's so down and his lashing out of anger because he went to see Lee and he ended up having a fight with some lads who deserved it, according to Mick. Linda's very concerned now because he seems to be lashing out on people. He doesn't seem to show any concern also about Linda and her superhero costumes for Ollie either.
I mean, same.
I get quite easily distracted. The only one who seems half interested is Max, but that's for reasons that we don't need to mention again.
Reasons for down below, yeah, indeed. Mick is not in a good place this week. Illustrated beautifully by the fact that they went to the supermarket. Linda was trying to get out of him what exactly is going on and failing miserably, and then Linda goes shopping. Mick is behind the wheel of his car, staring at a wall. It seems to want to just drive into it, and we get lots of intense camera angles. Not too musical, I'll give it that. It didn't seem to be, we didn't have like Carpe Diem playing over the top of it or anything like that. It was all right.
But then that would have been the one opportunity where it actually would have made an ounce of sense because he could have had a tape on. God, hello, Alex. Kicking and screaming into 2020.
What's one of them, Alex? I don't
know cassette.
What you mean. What's one of them? I'm far too young to know about things like that.
But all the radio or something, and that would have made the
wireless.
Or a podcast. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
You could have had the Walford Weekly theme playing in the background. Actually, that would have probably made good sense. If he heard us talking about him, he probably wouldn't want to drive into a wall. Yeah. Oh, no, not Rob and Alex again.
So, yes, it would appear that Mick at the moment is borderline suicidal. Bless him. He's having a bit of a mare, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah,
he's not well.
It's such a shame that he just seems to trust anyone to kind of open up and be honest for what is wrong with him. The one person who wants to know, he just seems to not want to open up to, Linda. It's a real shame. And then he went to Shirley this week as well, and Shirley was a bit like, I'm busy at the moment, I'm trying to upset the Slaters.
She was busy, to be fair. Shirley was slightly occupied when Mick tried to open up to her. But yeah, it's that classic thing, isn't it? Whenever a character is going through some sort of emotional turmoil, they don't feel like there's anybody to talk to. And yet the truth is, obviously, everybody is trying to talk to them and wants to get some sort of support out of them. So Mick goes to the only person that he considers will understand him at this stage. And on Friday's episode, the return of Katie. And it seems that Mick wants to go back to the home where he grew up, hoping that it will bring back some form of positive memory for him.
I mean, Katie didn't seem very keen with that idea. I mean, I wonder if Katie is worried that it might open up the thought process again of perhaps what she had done historically to him, or whether Katie is genuinely concerned for Mick and that she has this general concern. Do you think? Because I wonder if Katie... There's a part of her where she does still, or she has always worried for Mick. She loves Mick. So there must be some kind of concern for him, and whether she would be happy to kind of step to one side with this facade that she seemingly has put up, saying, "Oh no, none of that stuff you remember did happen," for him to finally get that release that he needs.
She makes me shudder slightly. Do you know what I mean? The actress is amazing because Katie is she's just this cold, icy sort of woman who seems to just be completely able to pull all the strings and make Mick feel whatever she needs him to feel at that stage. And I feel that you're right, that going to the home is going to sort of take Mick out of her control zone a little bit, because it's going to bring back a load of memories and it might open up a few doors that he's sort of closed behind him. So it'll be interesting to sort of see where Mick's head is at the end of next week, when they apparently go to this home, if they do go to the home next week. What do you think? I mean, where can you see this going?
Something's going to come out of Mick from seeing the home this week.
Yes.
I worry for scenes where you'll see Mick walking around the home and you'll hear children laughing and you'll hear the ghosts of his past happening around him.
It's exactly what's going to happen.
Rather than having...
We're not going to have like what we had with Whitney, with Steps or whatever playing in the background.
Whole Again by Atomic Kitten.
Whole Again. Atomic Kitten.
Mick will be like the Spice Girls. Who do you think you are? Or something like that.
Just wannabe, just playing in the background as he's walking through these old deserted corridors.
I remember this. I would wish that they would have Mick have a scene where he opens up and has a dialogue with Katie, rather than them having to go somewhere and having these kind of artistic shots where you see Mick's realization happening by an emotional memory rather than a conversational one. A bit like what they did with Tina when she realised about Stuart when the music started playing and she was in the nightclub it suddenly came to her. But then they followed that up with a nice chat between her and Sonia. So I hope that there will be some kind of dialogue between Mick and Katie. And the actress who plays Katie, the name escapes me right now, so I apologise to the actress. Yeah, she is just brilliant at playing this very almost calculated, creepy, a bit like what Ellie could have been, but never quite. Should have been, and never quite hit it. So I don't want to happen is Linda gets pushed further away, because it's clear that the further she gets pushed away, the closer she's going to get toward Max. And I just don't want that to happen.
Do you know what they said? Oh, bless them. Do you know what she said this week? We used to tell each other everything. When, Linda? When did that ever happen? Nothing that we've ever seen has illustrated that.
I know. But it just goes back to my point. These past 2-3 years, the damage between them, it seems to be unmendable. And I don't know. How about you? What about you? Do you think this is going to go on for a little while longer, or do you think this is going to be wrapped up by the end of the year?
It's sort of the thing where you need to play this story out properly, otherwise it's just an insult to anybody that's gone through it, isn't it? So I think we're going to be here for a few months. It seems like it's going to be a big Mick story going forward, which is fine. It's Danny Dyer, I'm sure, will do well with it, as long as they do it properly and don't sort of brush all the little minor details under the carpet and give us some actual character development for Mick and Linda and the relationship, and we'll find out more about Katie and we'll see where it goes. Do you think we're still going to have Stuart's involvement further down the line or not?
See, this is where they've made a mistake here, because where they've changed Stuart's character from being this mad
psycho to a jovial sort of
to this kind of jolly kind of guy who's kind of cleaned up his act very quickly. If Stuart was still this kind of psycho character, I think it would be more realistic for me as a viewer for Mick to then go to Stuart for advice and help, because Stuart would still have that eating up inside of him.
But this is the sort of thing, this sort of regressed memories that can unreform a character. So I don't think it's beyond Stuart at this point to sort of step back into that mindset if the right thing triggers him.
Let's move on then to the big Ian meat. Let's get
something we can actually laugh and take the Mick out of.
That's right. We can stick our teeth into and really get into it. Yes. So Basically, we are. This is the build-up. This is the build-up for the big Ian Duff round the head moment. I just want to talk about every single person who it could be.
Yes,
and
the
my
evidence
goodness,
that we've got in front of us.
That's right. My goodness, there is a list of them.
God, it's a list, isn't it? God, it's a list.
Been built up very well.
It has. It's all been extremely organic, I think, for the most part. But we start the week. This didn't put me in a great mood to start off with, considering the conversation that we were having about Abby and Lauren and everything last week. So you can imagine my mood when the very first shot of the week was Lauren's mug coming up on Peter's phone. Calling from New Zealand.
And Jessica Joss's face as well, which would indicate that there's no
recast.
No recast being planned in the near future. So,
which I think we can all safely say we are amazed. Her house in New Zealand has been burnt down because Lauren left a pan on. So it's nice to know that the Walford bad luck hasn't left her just because she's left EastEnders.
Well, and also it's nice to know that Lauren, the idiot, hasn't left her.
Yeah, it's just as useless as she ever was.
Yeah. She's probably cooking fish fingers like Denise was.
Yeah, maybe. Watching Denise's cooking YouTube channel. Both her and Louis are okay, but they've lost everything in this fire. The whole thing's gone up in smoke, and she needs money, as they've lost absolutely everything. Now, a panicked Peter goes straight to Ian. I'm sorry, I'm not one for criticising the script all that often.
I know exactly what you're going to say. I've got this written.
Bring this up.
Yeah.
What the...
In fact, no. Let's do it. I'll be Ian.
Yeah.
And you be Peter. Okay, so you come running into the pub.
Running into the pub. Yeah. Add action.
Hold up. Where's the fire?
New Zealand. What the hell? They wrote that.
I know. I can't believe. Terrible.
I can't believe out of all the script meetings and all the bloody script editing that goes on to put in an episode of EastEnders that line made it through the net.
It's just, I know, it's the most cliched thing.
I had to go to hospital because I had a muscle twitch that much when I it put my teeth on edge. Honest to God.
And I mean, I'm not being cruel to the actor who plays Peter.
No.
But it feels to me that he's still not found his legs on the show yet. He's still not settled in
when
quite
he's getting
yet.
lines like that, can you blame him?
No, true. And a lot of the time he puts his lines across. And I've seen the actor. He's very good, but he is
very good.
He's just not
very good
very
indeed.
Comfortable. I don't feel like he's comfortable in this kind of soap environment just yet. And he's just now getting this big role. I
feel like that's not exactly his fault at the minute though, because it's like I was watching Peter this week and I was sort of thinking, what the hell are you doing? Like, I don't get where Peter's head is at this week.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of switching from liking Bobby to not liking Bobby to being on Ian's side to not being on Ian's side. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no consistency with Peter as a character at the moment. He's really weird to watch and confusing. You have to proper concentrate on wherever Peter's emotions are, and even then you're still quite unclear.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think it's tough for the actor to kind of know what his motive is for each scene, because one scene he's angry toward Bobby and doesn't want to know, and the next scene he's best friends with Bobby and now is angry at his dad, then he's friends with his dad and then angry at Kathy, and it's like all over the place. It seems to be being put across by the way the actor is doing the role, and it feels a little wooden, and I don't want to mean that cruelly, but it's just I just want him to settle in. And
I feel that that's because he's like as confused as to where Peter is as we are.
I think you're right. I think
they need to focus a bit more on sort of nailing Peter to the ground and sort of helping us decide where his character is.
One of the other moments that's probably made Peter so tricky as well is that he's jealous of Bobby because Bobby's hallucinating.
Hallucinating.
Oh, nice. Hallucinating.
Hallucinating.
and he's angry at Bobby because of that. Like this
so
illness.
Jealous of his brother's awful mental health problems.
Yeah, I know. And he actually says to Kathy to the effect of, I wish I had mental health problems so I could see Lucy.
Like, and then so Ransom Bobby is just like, why didn't she come to me? So Ghost Lucy was sort of waiting in the rafters going, that's the one I'm going to haunt.
I'm just expecting next week there'll be an episode and Peter's called in Derek Acora to come and find Lucy for him so he can have a word with her.
I think he'd have to call in somebody else before he can get Derek Acora on the case.
Oh, but goodness, sorry, he's died, hasn't he? Apologies to any family of Derek Acora who I may have offended.
Who happen to be listening.
Yeah, just in case.
Right, so Ian promises to try and sort the funds out and goes to Suki to ask for the rest of the money for this deal that they made last week. But Suki's like, no, I haven't got it. You can wait. And Ian, knowing his place,
Right.
goes
Too
away.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, Lauren has told Peter not to tell Max what has happened. But
Oh,
Bobby,
God,
who heard the original conversation, has let slip to Max what has happened. We don't get any
Max walks
payoff to
out
that
and then
at
we
all.
never see him again for the rest of the week.
No, that's it. So we don't know exactly how Max is reacting.
He's stewing. He's running at home stewing, moaning to himself.
Like, just glaring as he's sewing a superhero outfit, just glaring into the distance.
Just complaining, moaning to himself, pinching his skin, getting angry. I don't know. Thinking about Linda, whatever.
Yeah, something Max like. Anyway, so meanwhile, Ian has to then tell Peter that he has no money to spare, which leaves Peter all angst and furious at a loss of what to do. And then later, he goes to uses Ian's laptop, and an email comes up regarding Ian's will. Ash comes around to check on him because they're BFFs now.
Yeah, that was a weird one, wasn't it? I mean, I know there's been that hint that perhaps Ash would have a relationship or sleep with Peter.
I'd rather they just be mates. Ian's kind of been written quite consistently for years and years and years because he's just useless, isn't he? Like
Yes.
anything to do with family or trying to help his family or anything like that. You know, his first thoughts when he was having money problems was to steal thousands of pounds off his mother. Yeah, so it shouldn't really surprise Peter whatsoever that he's got no money left in the will whatsoever. And then we get a slightly awkward monologue that tells us that,
and it's pretty much basically saying everyone else does what they want to do, so I'm going to do what I want to do from now on.
Yeah, and then also tries to tell Ash that he's tried to be a good, solid, reliable person. That he kept quiet that Lucy was the favourite. No, you didn't, Peter. And he's tried so much to accept Bobby. To be fair, I do have sympathy with Peter with the Bobby stuff because what do you do in that situation, really? Your younger brother has murdered your twin. Whatever your views on how it all happened were, I don't think you can really blame Peter for wanting to run away, especially seeing as though the whole family seemed to be trying to keep it all a secret and there were so many lies told about.
That was interesting, yeah. I must say that was an interesting little turn-up when Peter then said at the end of the week that he forgave Bobby because he realised that it wasn't really... Yes, Bobby shouldn't have killed Lucy. It wasn't his fault for everything that happened afterward. That was down to Jane. There was a Jane reference. I'd just like to bring that up too.
She's coming back.
I'm rubbing my hands together. In fact, I'm going to say it right here. Jane's coming back. So
Jane's coming back. Christmas.
That's it.
But it's her that does it. Jane returns just to Duff Ian and then goes away again.
But yeah, and that basically Ian and Jane had conspired to kind of keep it out of the police and got Max jailed and blah, 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 and that wasn't Bobby's fault. So actually, he's not angry at Bobby anymore. He's angry at Ian, which is obviously then makes him the culprit, or a culprit.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I know we've been saying that sort of Peter's quite confusing to watch at the moment, but at the same time, I think if you actually just sit and think about what Peter has gone through over the past few years, you can sort of see his point of view. I'm not saying that he's going about it the right way, but basically, ever since Lucy died, I don't think Peter's feelings have ever been taken into consideration for a second. So it's kind of no wonder that he went a bit off the rails and went to New Zealand with Lauren and then came back just to find Bobby back in the house and everyone trying to pretend that nothing ever happened. I think that you can sort of see why he'd have so much difficulty with it.
That's the problem. They haven't talked it out.
They sort of did this week, but in a very typically sort of all too quick way in which we sort of hear from Bobby the line, I've been waiting so long to hear you say that, and you kind of think, oh, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, that's all you're going to give us.
That's
for
it. It's just been kind of brushed. It's just kind of another little passing comment. And this is
such a huge character moment. It's a bit like when Phil is seemingly completely over the fact that Ben's gay. All these years of this character relationship where that's been such a bone of contention between the two of them, and it's all sort of brushed under the carpet in a couple of lines.
Yeah, the writing feels a little bit like they have this idea and they're really channeling this idea. What they want to do for this example is they want Ian bashed around the head by someone, and that's what we want to do. And they seem to kind of drop things by the wayside just to get to that ultimate goal, rather than kind of develop it because they could have had I would have welcomed, even if it was just like a 10-minute part of the episode of just Bobby and Peter talking to one another.
Totally.
And then that would maybe even brought the whole, could it be Peter or could it be Bobby, even more into the forefront of people's minds. So, but the way it's been done, to me, it feels like it won't be Bobby. Peter's a possibility, but I just don't think Peter's...
I think Peter's too obvious at this
stage.
I mean, I said I had my money on Peter at the start, but I feel like he is he's sort of like key suspect at the moment, isn't he? Basically confirms that it's not going to be him.
No, that's right. I mean, should we Should we talk about
speak to? Have him here. He's here tonight.
Yes, here's Peter. All right, everyone. Where's the fire?
Sorry about what we said about. Yes, so we'd like to start. Peter was apologising for what we said about your monologue.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't worry about it. There are more culprits.
Yes,
who could possibly do Ian in? Tina. There's Kheerat. There's Suki, Shirley, I guess, technically. And this is all revolving around a newspaper article in the most read newspaper in the whole of Walford. That's the Walford Gazette.
Murdoch's trying to get shares in the paper, but no one's interested.
Murdoch has desperately tried to merge it with the Sun, but just been unsuccessful up to this point. So there's an article released this week in the paper that Ian had a bit of a hand writing because he was pretty much told by the journalist that he's found out that Ian has taken an underhand payment from Suki, and if he wants it to kind of be turned around so he doesn't look like the bad one in this kind of story, that he would...
Again, typical Ian protecting himself,
exactly.
Regardless of anybody else's sort of issue.
He would basically dob in Suki, and which is exactly what he did. Didn't make the front page, much to Tina's disappointment. I think it made it to
page 3 though, didn't he?
Was it page 3?
It might have been a little bit further in, but it looked like one of those sort of typical leaf the paper open and then open it. And it it didn't look that far into the paper.
Just toss it into the newspaper at some point, kind of.
Maybe.
Thing. But if it was page 3, I'd be very disappointed if there wasn't a picture of Ian with his top off, quite frankly.
With his cod out. Yeah, so then Suki has been named in this article. Very unwise. Silly Ian. The best thing about it, though, was that this journalist went to see Suki in the Minute Mart, and Suki swiftly dealt with it by basically saying, it's very bad, tricky time to be a journalist for the newspapers, isn't it? You wouldn't want to be done with libel. She insinuated that she could take down the entirety of London's media just on a Tuesday morning. And you know what? I bet she could.
Oh, she could. But you said about Murdoch, she would have bought that newspaper just so she could have turned it into Panesar propaganda. Big time. Panesar Press.
Good. But I don't think Suki would do it. I think she's more likely, and this is my theory, I think that Suki is much more likely to get one of her kids to do Ian in. I think that puts Ash in the limelight.
Do you? What, because she had that conversation with Peter as well?
Yeah, she's quite close into it now, so she can sort of get a little bit of inside info as to how it's all going. She would never do it herself. She'd definitely get one of her kids to do it, otherwise her workers have the same thing. So I think that puts Ash in the limelight myself.
They showed Ash last week being a bit closer with her mum, and her mum seemed very appreciative with the advice that Ash had given her. So yeah, perhaps this would be Ash's in with getting into the family again. Yeah, I like that, actually, that idea. I mean, Kheerat has openly said to Suki this week that he was a bit disappointed that Suki hasn't taken it up with Ian a lot more further than she would normally. He said that she wouldn't normally let someone walk over her the way that Ian has with this newspaper article.
Yeah, it's like, come on, Mum, you've chucked our dinner away from
us. You've not let us eat one evening for less than this. So come on, you got to sort something out with Ian.
Suki implies that she's on it. Wait and see, I think, is basically Suki's response to that, isn't it?
And with her almost trademark now, raise of the eyebrow. Oh, yes. Every time I see it, it just sends shivers. Honestly, I just know.
She's like a modern day Kim Tate, that old iconic smirk that Kim Tate and Emmerdale used to have. Like Suki's got that now, just a raise of the eyebrow, and she'll saunter away. So yeah, I mean, I think Suki's involvement basically puts anything with the name Panesar attached to it in the suspect list. And then on top of all of that, you've also got the Mitchell side of things. Anything that involves attacking Ian, Phil is just there by definition, as is Ben, because Ben is now on a mission to find out who grassed up the heist. And Callum goes to the police station in PC Highway, makes a call, and says that he wants to get the audio clip of who made the call. And he uses D.I. Gaffney's kind of name and says he has said that anything related to this case is to be sent to little old PC Highway.
To his personal email address.
To his personal email address so that he can listen to it on his phone.
Yeah.
But either way, Callum receives the audio file and discovers that it was Ian that made the call. Now, I would like to point out here and now, Callum is an idiot because, he goes to see Ian the next day and basically puts his cards on the table, tells Ian enough about what is happening at work, as in like his DI is trying to bring Phil down and all that kind of thing. He gave Ian the information that basically Callum is trying to go behind Phil's back and everything like that. So that it certainly gave him enough information for Ian to sort of say something to Phil or to Ben that's going to completely and utterly ruin everything.
This is the thing. I mean, Callum is in a real desperate situation this week, and you could tell he was. He was panicking. He was rushing around. He was just trying to end everything. That's yet again another kind of link to, is Callum more of a culprit than we think we're giving him justice for?
I don't think so. I mean, it's putting him on the list, isn't it?
But what if Ian should find some reason to go to Phil and be like, if Phil's upset him in some way, and Ian's like, well, you know everything, I know this. And if Callum's like, oh, Ian, come, I don't know.
I think what's more likely is that Phil will find out that Ian grassed him up, and then we'll run to Ian, hold his head over the loo or something, and just as he's about to be dipped into it, he will say, let's slip about what he knows about Callum. And then that will be sort of the catalyst that blows up that part. I see.
So Callum won't be able to interfere or intervene.
Well, typical Ian, isn't it? Just anything. Screw anybody else. I need to protect myself right now. So he'll just let all of that slip.
Save his own skin. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I'm on the suspect list if I think too much about Ian.
Just because of what you say about him on the podcast. Strange one that Callum was just so able to pass on all this information. He was always asking Ian to help him with a statement to Phil, so he's able to get him arrested. And Callum was...
What was he expecting?
Yeah, and Ian just said no. But like you say...
Of course he said no, because that puts him in too much in the limelight for getting himself into trouble again.
So he's just kind of put him in a really tricky situation. Another thing I just want to bring up is why is Tina and Shirley all of a sudden so desperate to bring Mick and Linda back into the pub, where the whole reason they left the pub was because Linda had a drinking problem?
That's so true. Yeah, no, that's an extremely good point. I have no answer to that, really. I'm assuming that they think that Linda... I'm presuming their mindset is, Linda's fine now. She can work in a pub again, and Mick will be sorted by going back behind the bar. I'm assuming that's the mindset of it.
Tina has been like the surprise for this story, because the way they've shoehorned Tina into this has just shocked me. How they've done it so much, and it just makes me lean further and further in toward it being Tina. I'm putting my money on Tina.
Out of all of them, I would say that it's not beyond the realms of possibility for Ian to have annoyed any of the characters that we've spoken about, but just Tina is just that random component that I really don't want it to be her, just because it would be so weak, because everything else has worked so well. The sort of the lining up of the characters that could potentially do it. Most of the other characters seem quite organically sort of placed in terms of who could have done it. But then Tina is just such a random component, as Tina has always been, in all fairness. So if anything, at least it's consistent.
No.
I hope you're wrong.
Just remembered, we're missing a wild card here. That is Sharon. We mustn't forget Sharon in this, because we
mustn't forget Sharon.
We've talked about this a few weeks back when you spotted the mobile phone pinging and the message coming up, and we're still kind of looking, does Sharon know something about the boat accident? I don't know, Sharon.
I mean, Sharon's just been extremely kind of in the background ever since that day, which, that's a clue in itself. But, we're sort of not suspecting Sharon whatsoever, and it's time for all the other characters to look guilty before Sharon steps forward.
Are we looking for guilt in things that aren't guilty anymore? This is what worries me.
Why do all of that? You watched the scene, didn't you? You watched the scene with the phone thing.
Yeah,
Everything
I did, and
it said had happened.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, why do any of that? Because it was so ridiculously subtle.
But it was such a long time ago. That was probably over a month now since that scene happened.
It's only people like us that remember that sort of thing.
I know. But that subtlety. I mean, are they playing a real trick? And this is Sharon. It's Sharon all along, and the reveal of that will be just that will be gasp inducing.
I am taking so much credit if it's Sharon.
Let's go through the people who might
see how many we've actually serious ones. I'm going to write these down as we go along.
So we have Sharon. We have Sharon. We have Peter, Bobby.
Yeah.
We have Kathy, technically.
Yeah.
But she could.
Yeah, no, she's a suspect. Yeah.
We have Tina.
Yeah.
We have Suki.
Yeah.
Kheerat.
Yeah.
Shirley, technically, as well.
We've got Ash as well.
And Ash, of course.
So Shirley, and then Phil, Ben, Callum.
Yep.
We're missing people, aren't we?
I'm not sure we are missing anyone else. I think that seems to be the whole deck.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, that's 12 to start.
That's practically half the cast at the moment.
So yeah, 12 people we've kind of nailed down a suspect so far.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good old traditional EastEnders stuff. Whodunit, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Big time.
Can't wait for the promo pictures. Of Tina kind of like all shadily lit in her big old fluffy red coat, glaring at the camera.
With a troll doll in her hand.
Yeah.
Looking angrily.
Suki sort of glaring in a big white coat, holding a big old cod in her hand. I can't wait.
With the eyebrow raised.
Well, obviously, it goes without saying.
Shirley with her collar on her coat turned upward with her thumbs, looking
just doing her normal expression.
Yeah, looking a bit angry. I mean,
Callum holding his policeman's hat.
Looking clueless, not really understanding why, not really realising why he's done it or what he's done.
That is Walford Weekly's official suspect list for us, who we think is on one of those 12 people. We are putting money on the fact that it's either going to be Sharon, Peter, Bobby, Kathy, Tina, Suki, Kheerat, Ash, Shirley, Phil, Ben, or Callum.
Right, so that is the suspect list as far as we are aware.
As far as we're concerned.
If you guys have any ideas who you think it might be, or you have someone else to add to that suspect list, get in touch with us on our Twitter or Instagram at Walford Weekly, or you can join our Facebook group, Walford Weekly Podcast, or you can email us, actually. Here's a crazy concept. alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. We look forward to getting your theories, and we will read them out on next week's show.
I think that's about all of that. I think we've covered that pretty well.
I think so too.
Edition.
We are going to be talking a lot about him next week, I presume. So let's move on very quickly to Kat, Phil, and Kush story. Kush is still hiding in the attic. Kat is still visiting him quite regularly, surprisingly. Yeah. She seems to have a key to Sonia's house now. Sonia and Jack are getting a little bit suspicious now that there seems to be giant rats up in the attic.
And Whitney's just taking this all, water off a duck's back. Yeah. It's kind of going up, going, can you stop walking around at 3 o'clock in the morning, please? Here's a sandwich. Goodbye.
Yeah, Whitney's dancing to music to try to get people distracted. It's all becoming quite the chaotic.
Note that will return later, listening to music on her CD player. That will make a return later.
Well, there you go. Whitney has a CD player. Were you making fun of me saying radio and
true.
Cassette player?
That's true.
Whitney's younger than me. She used to listen to CDs. So, so Kush is hiding out. He wants...
going mad in the attic, thanks to some weird editing, just to prove the point.
Kat kind of like jumping up behind him, going boo, and he's like, "Oh, Kat, you've done it again, silly girl." And he wants to run away. Because he's had enough, and Phil has finally agreed to share the money because Gray has sold the cars. So Kat now knows that Gray's involved too. I mean, this is the most involved heist I've ever known. Again, about the same number of people who perhaps might whack Ian around the head is part of this heist.
It's part of this heist, You're either whacking Ian or you're involved in this heist if you live in Walford at the moment.
If you're not doing any of those, you might as well not be part of the soap this week.
I would like to question sort of Gray's moral integrity at the moment, and I think he needs to get his priorities right. He is quite happy to sort of sort out these illegal vehicles that have been stolen on Phil's behalf, and yet he goes into talking to Kush and says, you know what, you're looking at least 5 years and there's nothing I can do about it. It's kind of like, you're no Richie, are you?
Absolutely not. And yet Phil is relying on him far more heavily than he ever has with Richie in the recent few years.
Richie cars to sell, did he?
I know. I'm a bit worried that why they've kind of given Gray this involvement with Mitchell's, considering that Richie seems to now have just been completely forgotten. I wish that Richie kind of had that chat with Kush. I'd much rather that would happen.
You can imagine like Richie just kind of popping her head up in the attic. Kush, will you listen to me, please? Brilliant. That's all going on. Dottie randomly left in the middle of the week as well, just to go and see Dot.
Yeah, that was a strange moment, wasn't it? Right at the beginning of the week, Dottie was like, Dottie almost spoke. Goodbye. Yeah, Dottie almost spoke for the nation. She was like, I've had enough of it around here. I'm going to go and live with...
Call me when Ian's been hit and I'll come back and be a... Because she was high on the suspect list at one point, wasn't she?
Was pretty much the one I thought it was going to be up until Monday. And then it was like, because again, like Sharon, she kind of been put to one side. She'd not been mentioned for a long time. And I thought,
dropped a rat in the Slater's letterbox and that was about it.
Yeah, I mean, so I presume that's Dottie done for a little while. I hope Millie Zero comes back. I hope she comes back.
We like Dottie. I like Dottie a lot. I think Millie Zero's been amazing in the role, so I hope she comes back.
Well, of all the characters that have just gone, Dottie, Jags, Habiba, she's pretty much the one that really did have a lot to stay for.
I remember watching her when she did her first scene. Not many characters and actors sort of grab you immediately in the role. Clay did it when he came on as Bobby. I was immediately sold on new Bobby, and I was immediately sold on new Dottie when she first came, because she's just got this really natural, a bit like Suki, just this sort of natural bitchy exterior that you kind of think, oh right, I know exactly who you are and what sort of person you're going to be. So I hope she comes back, because I think she's great. The week is spent with Kush and Kat trying to work out what they're going to do, because there are people waiting outside to try and arrest Kush because they're convinced that Kush is around the square, with a rare bit of police competency. Because that is actually where he is.
Yeah, well, you say competency, but they're like they're hiding in absolute plain sight and
taking Ben's coffees as he brings them out.
That was hilarious. Ben came over and sarcastically was like, "Here you go, have some coffee. Ha ha ha! I know who you are." Put the coffees on top of the car, and in the background,
Took them,
and the woman actually took a sip and nodded agreeably. It was like, that's a really good coffee. I might come to Kathy's again.
Chocolate sprinkles, very nice.
Cappuccino from Kathy's, yes please.
Oh,
yeah,
dear.
I mean that was just insane. And Kat threw dirty, presumably car water, like when she washed the car. I don't know.
Had been using to do her feet in, apparently.
Oh, was that what it was?
That's what she said.
Well, in a tin bucket, is that what you do in the East End of London nowadays?
It's Mo. Who knows?
Poor Mo. She's mentioned, but almost forgotten, isn't she? She just keeps having these. The poor actress who plays Mo. They're literally destroying Mo with these little one-liners they keep saying about her, like, "Oh, her getting out of bed was the most exercise she's done all lockdown, and now she's cleaning her feet in a bucket of water."
They're turning her into one of those sort of really dirty old people.
Yeah, really has.
Like the Dingles or something in Emmerdale. Like, you could just sort of imagine her just sort of like fermenting in the side, just throwing out some little caustic line, and then that's basically Mo's role at the moment. It all culminates in Kat. Basically, they're trying to make this escape. Whitney is trying to distract Jack, who has randomly wandered into this story. Yes,
because Jack was asking after Kush. Every time anytime there was a Slater near Jack on the square, Jack would be like, "How's Kush? Have you seen Kush? Yeah. What's happening to Kush? Kush needs to turn himself in. Get Kush, find Kush. What's Kush?" And it was just like, "Oh, okay, Jack, fine." So Jack is now becoming Detective Jack around the square, which is what I was worried was going to happen with Jack's character when they brought him back into the police. That he was going to become this kind of, he investigates all the problems on the square, which are slightly illegal,
and also knocks on his neighbours' doors and introduces himself as an actual policeman, like holds up his ID card and everything. It's like, "Yeah, Jack, I know who you are." Like Callum did that to Lie last week. Jack does it genuinely.
Yeah, well, Jack almost likes being above his station, doesn't he? And this is the Jack I didn't like. And last week I was so excited because I was like, you know what? I'm beginning to warm to Jack. This is the new Jack. This is what I want to see. And then he's just gone right back to the Jack that annoys the heck out of me.
Jack from the Bill.
Yeah, the Bill Jack, and it's just. But then it was fine because he was within his rights to kind of be a bit more into the story, because I think he does have Kush's welfare in mind more so than, say, Callum has or D.I. Gaffney has.
Although not anymore, one would presume. Kush and Kat are trying to escape. Whitney is trying to distract Jack with music on her CD player, and sort of doing the most awful job of sort of going, "No, Jack, look at me. Don't look over there. Look at me."
I loved it. It's great.
It was funny. And then Jack hears a bang, because no one can ever leave anywhere secretly without knocking something over. Goes out into the stairs and sees sort of Kush and Kat like frozen on the stairs. Like,
looking proper sheepish, weren't they?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there, Jack. Kush takes him into the living room, goes, all right, fair play, leave Whitney and Kat out of this. Jack agrees to that, and then Kat just whacks Jack over the back of the head with the CD player. I can't believe that they set up the CD player as opposed to Kat just grabbing something randomly like a vase or something. They actually set up the CD player as a device.
Yeah, to whack round Jack's head.
As a little twist, like, you didn't see us using the CD player in this context, did you?
No one really saw that happen.
No, I can agree. I did not see that coming.
I really thought that Kush was going to somehow talk his way out of it in one way or another. But what surprised me more was that the whole week was dedicated by Kush saying that he wanted to leave. Kat wasn't so sure, had to be convinced, but even when she agreed to it, you could kind of see that she wasn't 100% backing the plan. When confronted with Kush having to turn himself in, Kat was suddenly like, "Actually, yes, I do want to run away to this little part of France that no one knows about.
We can find a little..." Worked for Stace. I'll do it now. It's my turn now.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. But I thought Kat wasn't that keen on the idea. I thought Kat just wanted to kind of stay around. So surely this was almost an out for Kat if she didn't really want to be involved with literally running away.
She had that she had that option laid out to her on a plate. Kush saying, all right, just arrest me. Jack going, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that. And yet Kat then decides to knock him out, which in itself is a device that annoys me. Because do you have any idea how bad it is for you to be knocked out? Do you really think that you can be knocked out by a heavy, blunt instrument to the back of the head, then get up a couple of seconds later, sort of rubbing the back of your head as though you've just banged it on a beam over the top of the ceiling or something?
I mean, Jack
doesn't happen.
Jack does have quite a thick skull, though, so I would appreciate that he's been beaten to an inch of his life by Phil Mitchell, and he's still the next day was kind of like strolling around the square. You know,
look at Phil; he's had more head injuries than I think the whole cast of Casualty put together.
In the future, if they were ever to write out Steve McFadden's character, I think dementia would be the way to go, because he's had so many traumas,
brain damage.
Yeah, he's had so many traumas to the head, and he's an ex-alcoholic that dementia seems to be the only thing that would actually kill him off.
Anyway, so Kat and Kush make an exit in Kat's taxi.
Her black cab. Remember that storyline when she was learning to become a black cab driver?
Yep, that's all happened now.
Do you remember that?
And I do, vaguely.
Yeah.
And then that's Kat and Kush gone off into the distance together. I'm presuming not for long.
Oh, no, they'll be back. But I think they won't come back now until all the Ian Bill debacle.
Stuff's done. You reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense. I hope not, in fairness. I'd rather focus on the Ian stuff next week. I don't think they're going to go to France somehow.
It was quite a romantic plan, though. Like I said, he's found this little corner of France where no one really knows about, not even the French know about, and they can get themselves a nice little job, and they can stay under the radar for 1 or 2 years. When it's all been forgotten, they can come back and they'll be back to normal again, and no one will care. You know, just the same way Stacey kind of did. You know, went away for a year, came back, no one cared. It was all forgotten.
Yeah. And I think that's about it this week, isn't it?
It is about it. The most important part, which is the Ian story, was front row centre this week, and I welcomed that, and I was happy that they'd done that. And I really do look forward to next week with the Ian story. I want them to focus on that big time.
I'm really looking forward to it, because I love an EastEnders who've done it. They normally do them really, really well. So hopefully next week will be the day. I'm excited.
Good, crossed.
So yes, that is the talk from the square this week, and we shall now dovetail beautifully into I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
So this week on I Ain't One to Gossip, we have a few little comments from our lovely, beautiful listeners. Stephen Cabot Brody on Facebook says, I'm quite impressed that despite filming restrictions, so many of the storylines are being connected in natural ways, and it all makes a fair amount of sense. I am, however, disappointed that the character development and emotions are not being invested in the same way. For example, it's nice to see Callum have the first, at least in my poor memory, scene with his boyfriend's brother, but I have no idea what he actually feels or thinks about Ian. It's not a bad point. I'm trying to think about many scenes that have happened between Callum and Ian, especially when you consider how influential Callum and Bobby were right at the start when Bobby came back.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. There was a really good relationship between them.
I'd like to see that develop more, because that was really nice. I mean, it was sort of the thing at the moment they were both going through turmoil at that stage. That was all it was about, wasn't it? Callum was struggling with his sexuality at that stage, and Bobby was hallucinating.
Well, yes, I was going to say, I bet Peter was really jealous that his hallucinations in front of the train that day. I want to hallucinate in front of a train. Why can't I?
I want to nearly get killed by the London Underground. But that's a big thing for me at the minute. Like, I really like seeing characters interact and all that kind of thing, and I feel like we're never going to see a scene between Callum and Bobby ever again.
I forget, was it mentioned also between Callum and Stuart this week as well? Because I thought that was a really lovely scene as well between them.
That was a really nice scene. I liked that a lot. Of course, it was Stuart's. Of course, we didn't mention the fact that the bug has been found now. Callum.
Oh God, yeah,
that missed all of that. That happened. Yeah, by the way.
Oh yeah, the bug's been found.
That was quite good. I thought that was quite a good Duff Duff on Thursday, actually. And yes, so that was all basically thanks to Stuart's involvement in the story.
Yeah, because Stuart said there's no paper trail kind of indicating what you've done, so why don't you just get rid of the bug and then we'll go from there. And then literally and then ironically it was a paper trail that led Phil to the bug under the desk. That's absolutely right. That's what has happened. At Sophie Ford with 2 Ds, she selfishly has taken 2 on Twitter, has said, it's got to the point where I just want Mick and Linda to split up now. So much has happened to them over the years, and I feel like we are watching the same scenes of them arguing over and over again. Yes.
Yes, we agree.
But the problem is that to begin with, their arguments felt quite organic and like quite real, and now it just feels like they're just desperately trying to It's like they're trying to split them up. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're deliberately writing them to be split up, which is why I always come back to, well, then that must be what's going to happen to them. There's nothing more to them other than the Vic. I don't know.
I know. It all goes back to what we were saying last week about like how well are they going to work outside of the Vic as a couple and as characters in themselves. It's all very well introducing these people and putting them straight at the forefront of the show, but when that initial stage is taken away from them, how important really are they? It's going to be interesting to see. Like, are they going to work better apart? Is the main question, and where do they go after that? Will
they work better apart? I can't describe it because in my mind I can't see them apart. The only thing I can see them doing, I'm going round in circles in my head with this, the only thing I can see them doing is that they will split Linda and Mick up, and then it will be almost like a Billy and Honey kind of scenario where they're ultimately going to get back together at some point. But then if they do that, I think that they should, if they do get back together, if they split up and then get back together again, then that should be... And I don't want to. This isn't my way of saying I want them to go, but this, for me, that would be the end. That's all they can do with Mick and Linda. If that's all they can do with them, then they need to. They need to leave the square, and they could come back again. But for that stint, that for me would be the end of it.
Yeah, I think so. And then obviously there's the Max connection as well, who I've just realised and remembered we didn't put on our suspect list.
13. Ooh.
No.
Very unlucky number
13.
Poor Ian.
So I'll tell you what, we'll do one of those sound clips where you can edit it beautifully in. And Max, there you go.
Do you think I have the time to do that?
No, I don't. And then Tracy Barrico says, Nancy Carter is in New Zealand now. Why do they have Linda mention that? Clearly because Nancy Carter set fire to Lauren's house.
Probably, and no one would blame her either.
We'll put it past her. I mean, it is quite random that all sort of young characters seem to run away to New Zealand at the minute. Do you remember when it used to be Portugal or Spain? They always used to go
or
to
America,
or America. Yeah, but it seems to be New Zealand is the place to go to now. For
it's always sunny climates, isn't it? They never go anywhere like Norway or Iceland or anything like that, is it? It's never like somewhere where it's even colder than where we are
Slovakia.
now. Yeah, or Scotland. Why can't they come to Scotland? Come visit us up here. It's lovely.
They get married in Scotland and then they come back again. That's Scotland is like the marriage capital of Walford.
With a wee whiskey and
haggis.
And a big haggis, a vegan haggis.
Some really salty vegan haggis. Is that a thing?
I don't know. I've not had any haggis up here actually, and I'll probably get.
What is it? It's essentially a stomach, isn't it? So how could you vegan that?
you can, yeah. They have something called lawn sausage up here as well, which is basically a square sausage, and they have a vegan version of that. It's really nice. I recommend it.
I should look out for your lawn sausage. And that's all the comments we have for this week. Don't forget to get in touch with us. Alex, do your ting.
All right, I will. So if you want to get in touch with us, find us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can also join our Facebook group. As I say every week, it's a hive of activity with people chatting all about their favourite soap, and sometimes they talk about us too. All you have to do is search Walford Weekly Podcast on Facebook. If you're listening to us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and comment below with your theories of who is going to end up whacking Ian. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean, or any of your favourite podcast apps. And if you are listening to us on any of those, please don't forget to review us. Thank you, by the way. We've had 2 new reviews this week. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh, have we? How very good.
They were both very, very good and very positive, and so we appreciate that. And I'm very sorry I don't have your names to hand, but we appreciate all your lovely comments and
we do. Thank you.
Yeah, we really do. Thank you ever so much. Don't forget to join us on Tuesday on our YouTube channel where we have our spoiler cast. Hope you all have a lovely week. Don't forget to take care of one another. Stay safe. Thank you again, Rob, for joining us.
A pleasure.
Absolutely. And we shall speak to you all again soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.